So I'm going to talk, and I hope to maybe set a bit of foundation for the session. I'm going to talk about BioLNG and its role in maritime transportation. Before I start, I'd just like to say a few words on CLNG. So CLNG is a global industry advocacy organization focused on accelerating the uptake of LNG as a marine fuel. And we have members from across the whole value chain, from the fuel suppliers through to the shipping lines, the ports, the engine manufacturers, and the investors. Now, clearly for us, LNG is a fuel that offers many, many advantages and many benefits. Increasingly, we're focused on the whole decarbonisation story and the role for BioLNG and its cousins, for LNG and its cousins BioLNG and synthetic LNG in that decarbonisation process. Okay. Whoops. Sorry, what's happening? So first, I just want to start with an overview of LNG as a marine fuel. So the uptake is accelerating, and it's being driven by regulation, economics, and availability and infrastructure. So at the moment, there are about 191 LNG fueled vessels in operation, with a further 250 on order. The numbers are relatively small, but the growth rates are significant. So since about 2010, we've seen an annual increase of about 20 to 40% per annum of the LNG fueled vessels in operation. And we've seen a shift from short sea shipping now into deep sea shipping. In terms of the order book, about 18% of vessels ordered in 2021 to date are LNG fueled. And they represent in total about 11% of the total order book. So a real accelerating trend there in terms of new build orders. For some segments, the new order percentages are considerably higher. So if you look at the ultra large container vessels being ordered, CMA, CGM is a very good example of this. About 30% of the order book is LNG fueled. For car carriers, about 45%, and LNG is making significant inroads into the tanker, bulk and cruise sector. The supply side is responding, and here is a map with an indication of where LNG is either available now or will be available in the near-term future. So LNG is available as a bunker fuel or ship fuel in about 120 ports worldwide, with a further 100 ports or so with plans to introduce LNG as a marine fuel. A key development has been the development of LNG bunker vessels. These are absolutely vital if shipping industry is to obtain LNG in the volumes and with the flexibility it needs. And there are now about 20 in operation, with a further 30 to 35 on order or under commission. And these LNG bunker vessels are now stationed in North America, Northwest Europe, and in Asia. As I mentioned, LNG, one of the key factors driving the uptake of LNG is its emissions performance. Now, there's been a lot of competing facts and often misleading information discussed in relation to the emissions benefits of LNG as a marine fuel. So in April 2019, we published the most definitive study to date of emissions of LNG as a marine fuel, compared with traditional marine fuels. And this was based on primary data from all the major engine manufacturers. So the idea here was that we published this definitive fact base on which the industry can lean. And this confirmed LNG's unparalleled local emissions performance. So 99% SOx reduction, 95% NOx reduction, and about a 99% reduction in PM compared to the traditional heavy fuel oils. It also showed, importantly, that greenhouse gas emissions of up to about 28% reduction in the combustion cycle, and this included methane slip. So a real step forward on both local emissions and greenhouse gas emissions. But as we all know, regulation is tightening. On the international stage, the IMO, which is the body that regulates the global shipping industry, committed in April 2018 to decarbonisation targets consistent with attaining Paris temperature goals. So a 40% reduction in CO2 intensity for international shipping by 2030, pursuing efforts to about a 70% reduction by 2050. At a European level, policymakers in Brussels are attempting to push shipping's decarbonisation even harder. So targeting a 90% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from all forms of transportation by 2050, looking to include shipping in the European ETS, I think by 2023, and this is significantly in advance of any plans the IMO have for market-based mechanisms, and looking to incentivize a move towards zero-emission synthetic fuels such as hydrogen and ammonia. So what's the role for LNG in all this? Our analysis shows that LNG plus ongoing design and operational improvements, that LNG as a marine fuel can meet the IMO's 2030 decarbonisation targets for new builds. So that's very positive news. But if we look longer term at as the emissions reductions targets become more stringent, then further reductions will require some form of lower carbon fuels. And this is where BioLNG is of specific interest. So last year, recognizing that there was work to be done on the decarbonisation pathway for LNG, we commissioned CE Delft to answer two questions for us. But again, there was a lot of there are a lot of claims and counterclaims around the availability of BioLNG and other competing synthetic fuels. So we asked them two simple questions. So how much BioLNG and indeed synthetic LNG is out there, and how much is it likely to cost? So the findings from the study, and you can again find the study as with the previous study on our website. It's free to download. So the key finding for us was that BioLNG, based on sustainable biomass resources, as defined by the European Union, is a massively scalable resource. If you look at the chart, what essentially it shows, it's a little bit complicated, but that there is sufficient sustainable biomass resource if it were converted into BioLNG to more than meet the forecast energy demands from the global shipping industry in 2030 and 2050. So the BioLNG has a massive potential, and our analysis has also been recently backed up by analysis from the IEA, which recently published a study on biogas and biomethane, which again shows that the resource has massive potential. The sustainable biomass feedstocks are globally available, and key is that BioLNG is commercially available to shipping now. So if we look at the Total's bunkering of the CMA CGM ultra-large container vessel, which was a landmark in the industry in last November, 13% of 17,000 cubic meter bunker load was in the form of BioLNG. BioLNG is being sold and offer in the market bunkering marketplace in Rotterdam, Northwest Europe more generally, and the Scandinavian countries. So it's there now. Longer term liquefied synthetic methane, I think the point that I want to mention here is, the molecule is identical. It's available on the build out of renewable electricity supply, as are other synthetic fuels such as hydrogen and ammonia. And then in terms of cost, BioLNG and synthetic LNG are very likely to be cost competitive with other synthetic zero emission fuels that are being discussed at the moment. So we've seen that BioLNG has a vast potential for shipping and clearly other sectors. What needs to happen for it to realize its potential? And I think here are some general regulatory principles that we are promoting as an industry. We think clearly that regulators need to adopt a technology neutral approach so that we can guarantee a true level playing field between different mobility solutions. Alternative fuels need to be evaluated on a full life cycle, and for shipping that means a well-to-wake basis. There's a lot of discussion about, say, hydrogen and ammonia as alternative fuels, but if those are simply produced from fossil fuels, then they will have higher overall greenhouse gas emissions than conventional marine fuels such as LNG. Regulators need to effectively recognize, incentivize the role of BioLNG for shipping's decarbonisation, and more generally point biomethane at those harder to abate sectors where there are no obvious alternatives, such as electrification through solar and wind power. We need to bring more sustainable feedstocks into the scope of Europe's renewable energy directive, such as residues that can't currently be used and secondary crops. And importantly here, in Europe particularly, we see that biomethane or BioLNG, the market is very fragmented, so we need to create a single market with common standards to allow trading of biomethane, BioLNG across borders, and also the associated certificates of origin. And finally, we need to recognise the role that LNG infrastructure plays as an enabler for integrating higher shares of BioLNG in the short to medium term and potentially synthetic LNG in the future. That's it for me, so I'm happy to take any questions now or in the chat and or in the panel session at the end. Thank you.
Steve, thank you very much for that introduction to LNG and BioLNG in particular. I think, yes, we'll take the questions at the end in the question and answer session. So now that leads on very nicely to Michael Chapp, who is the commercial director for marine at Titan LNG, and obviously can give us his point of view and his experience from actually handling LNG and how he also sees BioLNG fitting into the equation for the future. Okay, Michael, I'll hand the microphone over to you.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Paul, for the introduction, and thanks also for having me, to the organizers. I will also. All right, are we okay? Yeah, should be okay, right? Yeah, I would like to actually build on some of the stuff that Steve has mentioned. Further cementing LNG as the pathway for zero carbon shipping. LNG is well, as Steve also mentioned, at the moment very becoming quite popular. The order book is looking good, and it's a demonstrated way of refueling the vessels. At Titan LNG, we intend to decarbonize marine fuels by producing and supplying clean bio LNG today and e-fuels in the future. So we start with the normal LNG, and then we start to gradually implement the bio LNG streams when they become available and of commercial interest for our customers. So the scalable element is very important to recognize, also to mirror some of the stuff that Steve just mentioned. So as Titan LNG, we have been active.
Michael, excuse me, I'm just going to jump in here for a second. Would you be able to just launch the PowerPoint from the icon at the bottom of the screen so that we get the full picture? Because at the moment we've got at the bottom you should have an icon for PowerPoint to launch it. Like you're doing a full screen.
Yeah, I was doing that. This one.
I'm not sure.
Is it better now?
Well, we can see the notes as well. We can see more than just the slide that you're showing.
Okay.
That looks almost there. Try again.
Okay. Sorry for this.
That's all right. That's all right.
Where is it? No, I can't see it myself anymore.
If you click on share screen at the bottom, it should give you the options of different screens. Share screen in the Zoom.
This one. Sorry.
Don't worry, that's not a problem. Otherwise, I can bring it up if you like.
I seem to have lost it completely now.
I'll pull it up because we have it, of course.
Sorry, no worries. I'm working on 2 screens. Maybe that's. Okay.
Are you there? It's just opening for me as well, so I can.
Yeah. It's just starting to get the hang of the storyline.
Sorry to interrupt you like that.
Yeah. I'm not even sure where my entire PowerPoint went to. Maybe
let me bring it up for you. Then you allow me to take the screen and I'll launch it myself.
Yes. So I stopped sharing.
Okay. What can you see? I can't actually.
Yeah.
Can somebody confirm that we can see the full screen?
Oh, I can see mine again. Okay, shall I try to share mine again?
I think we're good now, Steve. Sorry, Michael, I think we're good now. So can you see the screen or not?
Yes, but it's not on full screen. Shall I try once again? I've managed to bring.
Let's do that. Perfect. We'll share with you again.
Let me see this one down. Yes. So share screen. PowerPoint. This one. Okay. Share. And
there we are. Well done. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Over to you again, Michael.
Yes. Okay. Hopefully it's okay now. My apologies for that. Yes. So where was I? Yeah, I was trying to explain to you that the pathway of using conventional LNG at the moment, which is still, of course, a fossil fuel, but already brings carbon reductions, and then by including bio LNG and also synthetic LNG in the future is a viable pathway into future compliance for the marine industry. So at Titan LNG, we have been supplying conventional LNG for the last 8 years, predominantly to industrial applications as well, as you can see on the bottom right. And we have started to supply LNG as a marine fuel for the last 5 years, and developing various propositions for small scale, which is also applicable for BioLNG. I will explain that in a little bit. The truck-to-ship bunkering, which is more for inland vessels. We have truck-to-ship bunkering import with dedicated inland waterway bunker barges, and we have the larger scale ship-to-ship bunkering for ocean-going vessels at various locations. We have now brought on board a team as well, looking into the BioLNG proposition. This is what we do on a daily basis. This is a car carrier in Emden, as it nicely says, it's fueled by LNG. And the vessel next to it it says on the back still NG Zeebrugge. It's called now Green Zeebrugge. It's still blue, unfortunately. We really wanted to have it green as well. This is on the long-term charter by Titan LNG. And we deliver LNG as a marine fuel on a daily basis. So we have the routine, we have the accreditation, we can do it safe and sound. So in this market, the normal LNG deliveries is really starting to pick up now. More and more vessels are being ordered to run on conventional LNG right now. Or as I said, already reducing the carbon emissions by approximately 20%, and also making a big impact on the local environment, because of course we're talking about carbon quite a bit, but the local emissions from vessels that are fueled by LNG are drastically reduced as well, which is very beneficial for the people that live close to port areas. So how do we see the pathway then on reducing the carbon emissions for the ships? Now, if we want to go to zero, we need to start to gradually implement other types of liquid gases. They may not be even natural anymore if it's a synthetic LNG, but including the bio streams into the conventional streams enables for a pathway to scale, and that scaling is needed for two things. One is the availability of the bio LNG. It's not massively available just yet, and also the pricing is relatively expensive at the moment. But in light of your appetite as a shipping company to procure these molecules, to make a point to your customer, or maybe a customer even demands it, to transport their goods more sustainable, the appetite for the usage of BioLNG will grow over time. There's various modalities available, whether it's from a truck into an LNG powered vessel, as you can see on the right hand side. That's a dredger, which is winning tenders at the moment. Dredging vessels are often long-term tenders from governments, and they have sustainability criteria. So there we could see a real justification on the premium that BioLNG currently demands. And so a government gives the contract to this green, literally green vessel on the basis of their carbon footprint performance. Once it is of scale, we start including it into the larger assets as well that we currently have on the water, and start supplying it to the vessels, to the larger vessels that require a real ship-to-ship transfer, because the trucks are just way too small. The beauty of the LNG infrastructure that is currently there. On the right top side, you can see our two barges really next to each other. The Flex Fueler 2 has been christened 1 hour ago, so she's officially in operation. The beauty of these vessels is, or barges they are, and they have multiple tanks on board. So the idea here is that we start allocating storage capacity inside our barges to accommodate physical bio-LNG streams. This has also been recognized by the European Union, that this concept is actually quite workable to scale up the bio-LNG delivery promise to the marine market. The flex fuelers, because they have the 4 tanks, they can accommodate these bio-LNG streams via trucks. So trucks can discharge into our barges, and then we can bring it to the vessels that are requiring LNG as a marine fuel. That application with the trucks sounds a little bit difficult, but it is a way to scale up with the market, because you can't start the discharging trucks into large vessels for the bio-LNG. So the flex fueler is a very nice intermediate storage solution where you can aggregate sufficient volumes that can be brought to the final receiving vessel. And for that, we have been granted a subsidy of 11 million to further develop the LNG bunker proposition. And that includes also, that's the other picture, that's under development. That's the Hyperion. We expect to take FID on that in Q2 this year. An 8,000 cube barge, which will have the right economies of scale to load and serve as mothership to the flex fuelers. And also she can load the bio-LNG from the flex fuelers as well, if a customer of ours requires larger parcels of bio-LNG. So the bio-LNG scalability with the infrastructure that we have is very promising. And the main point here is as well that we can use the existing infrastructure to gradually go into bio-LNG. So what do we do on the bio-LNG? Of course, we want to be on the forefront of making sure that we end up delivering the right products to our customers. For that, we have taken great effort to make sure that we have all the certification in place, and that is end-to-end certified for the entire supply chain. Also, we've intensively looked at the compatibility. So conventional LNG with the bio-LNG, how can that be mixed? In other words, how compatible is it? We have not found any issues on that, and the engines of our customers should be able to accommodate these bio-LNG molecules safe and sound. So how do we start to bring up this blend ratio? Now, that's by offering tailored solutions in accordance with the need of our customers. How much bio-LNG would they like to introduce into their fuel mix in order to offset their emissions? So we can go from let's say what we call a B10 to 100% bio-LNG, depending again on the customer needs. In order to be a credible supplier, we've taken the steps to make sure that we have the end-to-end front-to-end process in order, and we have recently obtained the ISCC certification, which we're quite proud of, and therefore give our customers comfort that they will get the right product on board, and that they will not be faced with any issues after delivery has taken place. Because it's very important to recognize the front runners in this market and to make sure that they're protected as well. So we again, we have taken quite serious steps to make sure that we have the full accreditation in place. So having all these building blocks in place leads to a future where LNG can play a very prominent role in various shapes and forms, whether it's normal LNG bio-LNG, or in the future synthetic LNGs, potentially derived from hydrogen as a building block, for example. So with this, we can safely say that the future for LNG powered fleet is bright, and that compliance can be achieved by starting to incorporate bio-LNG streams, and also again reducing the local emissions next to the CO2 savings. Thank you for your attention.
Apologies again, I didn't have my stick down, so the microphone wasn't on. So I'll repeat. Michael, thank you. Thank you. I can see you acknowledging now, so that means you can hear me. Thank you very much indeed. Very interesting presentation, and congratulations for the pioneering work that you're undertaking. And we can see that you're having considerable success with certification, and one can understand the logic of investing in LNG today with a view to bio-LNG following on, hopefully sooner rather than later. And obviously there are reasons to believe that it'll be sooner with new sources such as e-LNG, bio-LNG coming through. So that was all very interesting. Thank you very much indeed. We will now move on to hear the viewpoint of a major shipping line, Stena Bulk, and Peter Bjorkborg. Help me with your pronunciation of your name, Peter, if I didn't get that quite right. So Peter, over to you, and I know you're going to give us the vision of Stena, which I think, if I'm right in saying, but you'll tell us more, also involves having options on the table, but implementing today. Okay, Peter, I will pass the microphone to you.
Thank you, Paul, and I hope you can all see the presentation, and I can assure you your pronunciation of my name was at least close enough, so that's a good start. So when we're talking a little bit about LNG now and bio-LNG, I'm going to have a slightly different angle on bio. My name is Peter Bjorkborg. First of all, I'm heading up sustainability and transformation at Stena Bulk. And I'm going to approach this from a ship owner perspective, and more specifically how we see biofuel as a green enabler, and I will come back to in a few minutes what I mean by that. But it's going to be a little bit more from a commercial side, so not so much production methods and bunkering, but more how do we think that we can start scaling biofuel in operation, so to speak. Before we go into that, just a little bit of context. So again, we are a ship owner, more specifically in tankers. We have about 100 tankers on the water at any given time, just shy of that at this point. Our purpose is to provide the world with energy and resources for its growing need. That's what we do. That means today, crude oil, oil products, chemicals, vegetable oils, and LNG. But we're also, of course, trying to take active part in the transition to more sustainable commodities as well. Which brings us into the topic of sustainability. Our approach is that we should continue to do what we do. We should continue to fulfill our purpose, but do it in such a sustainable way as possible. And when we talk about sustainability, the main thing that makes a real difference here and now, of course, is decarbonization. Being net zero by 2050 is great. We believe we can do it faster. And we believe we can do it 10 years before that, actually, in 2040, but that will require a number of things. It will require collaboration. It's going to be 100% necessary, I would say. And when I talk about collaboration, it's of course with our customers, It's with suppliers, research, but also with fellow ship owners. We're facing common challenges and we need common solutions to that as well. This ship that you see here is one of our methanol tankers that we are currently building together with methanol producer Proman. And this is the kind of collaboration that we believe strongly in to reach the targets. We need innovation, of course, but not only technical innovation, but we also need to reimagine, I think, how we do things, start asking the difficult questions on why we do this and why we don't do that, challenge established truths on what can be done and what can't be done. This ship that you see here is the Infinity Max, which is our vision of shipping a few decades ahead. Zero emission, modular. And all of this is going to be needed, we believe. But there's one really, really critical thing that remains, and that is that we need to start acting now. We can't really wait for new technology and new zero carbon fuels to be commercially viable. We need to see what can we do now with the fleet that we have in the operations that we're currently in. And that's really where we see biofuels fit in very nicely. This is the Stena Immortal, one of our product tankers carrying oil products and chemicals and vegetable oils around the world. But she was also the first vessel that we ran on biofuel. This was about a year ago. We did a trial on a 10-day voyage from France to Rhode Island. And what's so special about that? We're not the first one doing a biofuel trial, certainly not. We wanted to stretch it a little bit. We did it on 100% bio, and we also did it in regular commercial operation in fully loaded condition, meaning that we didn't really change anything from our regular operation. We didn't take the ship off hire and did a separate trial. We did the trial as part of our operation. And the point of that was that we wanted to prove that for us as a ship owner, the only difference between biofuel and conventional fuel is the environmental footprint. That was kind of the whole point. We shouldn't have to change anything else to be able to run on bio. That was the approach. Of course, supervision and testing, a lot of that we did, but otherwise we didn't change much. The conclusion was that, yeah, that was exactly what was the case. There was really no difference. The engines performed on par with conventional fuels. There was no tear. There were no residues or soot coming out of the exhaust. We didn't have to change anything operationally. We did a second trial a few months after on a different fuel, a blend that time, to try that out as well, and the conclusion was the same. So for us as a ship owner, we are very confident that biofuels work. So the second question we asked ourselves was, okay, how do we take it from here? How do we commercialize the use of bio as well? And our take on that is low carbon shipping options. We introduced this last summer. And what we do is that we offer our customers to decarbonize their transportation of their product, so to speak, their indirect emissions. So we're offering transportation with up to 85% reduction well to wake or 100% tank to wake. And the way we do that is, yes, it's based on biofuel, but we also need to have what we call an internal offsetting system, which means that we don't necessarily use the biofuel on that particular voyage, but we use it within our fleet so that we can offer this product regardless of where we are in the world, what ship it is, and local, whatever it can be, things from stopping us from using bio. So this is our take on it. We believe it's going to take a while before this really takes off, but it is a way for us to both reach our own targets and also allow our customers to reach theirs.
Peter, thank you. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm not done yet. I just had an artistic pause. I want to talk a little bit about methanol as well. We do believe in methanol as a fuel, and as I mentioned earlier, we have the collaboration or the partnership with Proman. There are a number of benefits with methanol as we see it, but if we stick to the environmental side of things, it is biodegradable. It is clean burning in the sense that the SOx and the particulate matter is reduced dramatically, and also NOx levels. The challenge from an environmental perspective is the carbon dioxide. We know that there is less CO2 emitted from combustion of methanol compared to other fuels, but over the life cycle, it's still significant. And this is really where bio and e-methanol fits in. And the way we approach it is when we look at fuels in general, alternative fuels in general, we try to look at it in pathways. So not looking at methanol and biomethanol and e-methanol, by themselves, but seeing it as a whole. And doing it that way means that we can start investing in methanol ships. We can start and build operational and technical experience, because we know that methanol is solving a number of problems for us now, and will solve even more problems when we eventually can scale up the bio and synthetic methanol. And same thing with methane or LNG, as discussed by the previous presenters. So in conclusion then, when we talk about biofuels as an enabler, it's primarily three things that we're talking about. One, it allows us to act now. We don't have to wait for new technology or new fuels to be commercially viable. We can start reducing our emissions now. And we can't, to be fair, really afford to wait 10 years or 20 years to start that voyage. So I think bio is playing a key role in that respect. It also opens up for multiple low carbon pathways, as mentioned. Methanol is one, LNG is one, which means that we can start taking active steps now. And then finally, I think biofuel actually has an important role to play in that it shows that decarbonization isn't 10 or 20 years away. It's something we can do now. And I think, and I hope that can also push development and investments in other options when it comes to low carbon technology and fuels as well. For it to really take off though, and then now I'm not talking about Stena Bulk specifically, but more in general for ship owners to start looking more into bio, there are a few things that the industry will need, I think. I like to talk about shipping appropriate products. Of course, we need more products. We need more fuel available for us. When I say shipping appropriate, I mean that we need products that are high quality, but not necessarily fancy. Right? Our engines can take a lot. We need quality, of course, but we don't need HVO. And that, of course, also has to do with pricing. Pricing and also availability, I think, are key concerns, not only for us, but for others as well. Can we really rely on having enough to be able to continue our operation running on bio? Same with certification. Happy to hear that the Titan LNG now has certified their products. I think that is really, really important, and standardization as well. Also leads into the regulatory clarity that is also not quite there yet, I think. Especially the question of what is regarded as sustainable and what is not. So those are a few things that I think we need to continue to work on together, and we were happy to collaborate with anyone around those things as well. But again, the potential is there, and we're going to focus continuously on bio as one of the pathways moving forward. With that, Paul, I'm done. and I will be happy to ask questions in the Q&A later on.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. And apologize for my premature interjection in the middle of your presentation, but true to what we would expect from a stellar bulk vessel, you kept going, you didn't let a little blip knock you off your course. So well done for keeping the momentum. And that was a very interesting presentation and echoes really what is run through the both sessions is that, and you said the word yourself, collaboration, now, and innovation. And you showed very well how Stena Bulk is embracing those three in conjunction with your colleagues across the industry. So now taking that word innovation and moving on to our final speaker in this session, Katarina of Clean Planet Energy, who will very much talk about how innovation can introduce a biofuel, but from completely unusual or not currently valorized biomass streams for shipping, and can show how innovation can expand the range of possibilities for low carbon biofuels for shipping today, because they're coming through, and more so in the future. So Katarina, with that brief introduction, I shall pass the microphone to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Allow me to share my slides with you. And fantastic. So good morning, all. Paul, thank you very much for the introduction, and I'd like to thank the audience as well for participating in this session this morning. My name is Katarina Garifalu, and I'm the Commercial and Business Development Director of Clean Planet Energy. I'm here to talk to you today about how in Clean Planet we use non-recyclable waste streams for low carbon shipping fuels. I'm very happy for participating in a session with a fellow panelists to discuss about a low carbon future for the transport, and especially the role of bioenergy to attain net zero. On top of that, though, I'm exceptionally happy today because following a recent announcement that CP did quite a few weeks ago for producing an ultra clean aviation fuel, the Clean Planet Air that you see on your right. Today, we made further two announcements for two fuels, which are destined for the marine industry for the use of ships and vessels. And those are branded under Clean Planet Oceans. Now, Clean Planet Oceans are about two products. The first one is the ultra clean marine residual fuel, which is also known as bunker fuel or fuel oil that is meeting the international ISO standards. And also we have the premium marine distillate fuel, which matches the EN 15940 diesel specifications. That's why I'm really excited today. This presentation coincides with our announcement, and allow me to tell you our story, starting with a video.
Tonight, at midnight, the world's transport and logistic networks will reset for another day. Tomorrow, 100,000 flights will depart. 75,000 cargo, cruise and fishing ships will set sail. A cargo ship can use 175,000 litres of dirty fossil fuel tomorrow. It can release the same sulfur oxide pollutants as 300 million cars. That's a single ship in a single day. A domestic flight for each kilometre travelled for every economy passenger will release 250 grams of new CO2e emissions. That's a single passenger travelling just 1 kilometre of a single flight. Last year alone, humans released 43 billion tonnes of CO2e emissions into the atmosphere, and it's growing fast. Once-in-a-generation storms occurring annually. Record forest fires sweeping across our rainforests. Up to 150 different species becoming extinct every day. In the future, the world must transition to carbon net zero energy forms. But tonight, from midnight, those 100,000 flights will still depart, and 75,000 cargo crews and fishing ships will continue to set sail. So, what if there was a solution to clean them all from tonight? What if we could take the 8 million tons of waste plastic destined for our oceans and turn it into an ultra-clean fuel that reduced CO2 emissions by 75% and zeroed out the sulfur oxides? What if there was an immediate solution?
So welcome to Clean Planet Energy, and a couple of important points regarding this video. First of all, I think we are all aware and the emissions that are associated with transportation. And this is why we're all here providing solutions to both industries, the aviation and the marine sector. But also it's very important for people to realize and understand the importance of global trade, and that it has to continue with as less disturbance as possible. And this is why it's important to provide to both industries with immediate solutions. This is how Clean Planet Energy comes, and this is why we exist. We're here to trigger and accelerate change. We have a very clear vision for clean oceans and clean air. We produce fuels that are both for the aviation and the marine sector. We have a simple mission to remove over 1 million tons of non-recyclable waste plastic. And I'll come back to the importance of using non-recyclable waste plastic from our environment every year. And the way we do this is by building eco-plants. Now, our eco-plants, they use patent pyrolysis and oil upgrading technology to convert non-recyclable waste plastic, and in specific 20,000 tons of it per plant per year, and convert it to ultra clean fuels. Fuels that can be replaced with fossil fuels and can be used to existing fossil fuel engines. Now, our eco-plants are built using our trademark design, the turtle shell. Now, turtle around the world is associated with good health, long life, and nature. And these are the qualities that we strive to do with each of our eco-plants. And I hope you will see from the designs here that the way that they look and the feel is so much different from the traditional plants that the people are used to see. Now, the inner shell is where all the magic happens, is where we have our processing facilities and the energy. And the outer shell, which is 30% of our investment, is all about nature. So we build gardens, tranquility gardens, community gardens, nature reserves. And the reason why we do that is that when we go and we talk to the local authorities discussing about building eco-plants, we want them to be part of the solution. And that's why the reason why we build them are so different from the traditional plants. So how it works. We take every day, each of the plant will use 60 metric tons of non-recyclable waste, which is going to be shredded and fed into the facility. And now within our facility, we have a two-stage process. In the first one, in an oxygen-free environment, the plastic hydrocarbons are broken down into smaller chains. And then in the second part of the process, those chains are then upgraded into new products. And then at the end, we have liquids, we have gas, and we have solids. The important thing I want you to remember this here is that this is not incineration. There is no flame into this process, which is really important when we talk about emissions. And I'll touch about the products in detail in the next few slides. Now, in terms of the waste plastic, we accept almost any waste plastic, and it's really dreadful to see that 50% of all UK and Europe's waste goes to landfill incineration. We do not want to intervene with plastic which has a cleared mechanical recycle path. We're not interested into this. We're interested into different types of plastic that they will otherwise end up being incinerated or in landfills, or even worse, into the ocean. And the key thing to this is that in our process, we can take plastic that is contaminated, that it wouldn't be otherwise recycled mechanically. Now, a bit more about our technology. So you'll see the first picture you see, and maybe I should have it a bit bigger. This is the feedstock. This is actual plastic that we have actually used to produce our plastic and our to produce our fuels. And you see the picture there. So as a stage one, we take the non-recyclable waste plastic and we convert it into refined pyrolysis oil. Now there are different stages that they follow. In the stage 2, we take the unrefined pyrolysis oil, which is mixed at pressure with hydrogen and fed into our patent clean planet reactor technology. Now the pyrolysis of gas that we generate, it goes back to the plant to power the plant. The plant is powering itself from the gas that we produce. In stage 3, inside the reactor now, the unrefined oil is converted into the hydro-treated clean fuels. And then in the stage 4, we remove things like sulfur, nitrogen, heavy metals, the hydrocarbon saturation. And then we end up in stage 5, where we're past the reactor. The oil is fed through to a single stage distillation column in order to separate the different types of fuels. Now, what we have managed to do in Clean Planet Energy is to offer a range of different modes. We can have plants that are focusing on producing naphtha with a smaller part of producing diesel or jet fuel, or we can have a mode that it focuses more on producing the diesel and less naphtha. So we provide the flexibility that can meet market conditions. And the design of a plant is such that we can switch from one mode to the other relatively very easy. It will take us like 1-2 weeks to change the mode. In terms of the, we talk about the gas, the solids, we produce also carbon black that goes back to the construction industry. In terms of the liquids, we have the fuel oil, the naphtha, and the ultra clean fuel with over 75% reduction in CO2. And I'll touch a bit more on the emissions in the next few slides. So EN 15940, this is our utmost premium fuel for the marine and the road usage with the highest eco standards. What we're trying to do in CPE, we have decided to have a very transparent and open conversation with the public. So I would really encourage you to go to our website where you can find and you can download the high-level specifications of all of our products. And we have received SGS certification of all of our products that we have managed to produce. We also have the fuel oil. This is part of the Clean Planet Oceans, and you actually see them on the right-hand side. You see the picture of how actual the oil looks in reality. This is our premium 15940 following the specifications, but it's suitable for heavy machinery, and it is an ISO 8217 compliant fuel. We also have the jet fuel that we announced a few weeks ago for aviation usage. And also we produce an ultra low sulfur naphtha. So the remainder of liquid products that non-used for fuel then is recycled back into naphtha. And then this naphtha is sent back to make, again, circular plastics or to be provided to petrochemicals for manufacturing of household facilities and other products. When it comes to emissions, there's a lot of discussion about lower emissions. So apart from the 75% reduction in CO2 emissions, a significant benefit comes from the notable decrease in dioxide nitrogen and oxide sulfurs of our products compared to the typical oil refineries. And we shouldn't forget that those NOx and SOx that we usually call them, they're associated with thousands of deaths every year around the globe. So they're very poisonous emissions that we should as an industry, we should also try to tackle. Now, in terms of the CO2 emissions, so far I have mentioned a 75% reduction, and this is what we have currently in our website. Based on initial assessment we did, a life cycle assessment we did with public available data, again, because we want to communicate openly to the public what our process can achieve. However, recently we concluded a much more detailed LCA emissions analysis as part of the ISCC Plus certification that we want to submit. And then we did a very detailed GHG calculation of our products. And then we end up with two phases of outcomes. The phase 1 and phase 2, it's simply, the differences are simply in the phase 1, that is the first 6 months of the plant's life, where we haven't produced enough gas in order to power the plant, and we still rely a bit on the grid. In the phase 2, then we use hydrogen and our own gas, so we were more detached with the grid compared to phase 1. And you see how those products they can achieve now those CO2 reductions. We were really happy and proud to see those numbers. And the diesel can go up to 95% of reduction in CO2, and the naphtha almost 98%. So I would like to leave you with a short video that introduces you to our Clean Planet Oceans product. As I said, today is the big day of our announcement. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer at the end. And please feel free to contact us in CP through our website or email us personally. Thank you very much.
Look out. To the oceans, to the seas. Look out to the vast expanse of relentless currents that devour our planet. They bring the never-ending tides that connect us. They birth the joys of life. Look to the loneliness of life in the deep blue. The ships that sail there are the arteries that sustain us. The essential goods that they bring cannot be replaced. Through the night and day, they are not going away. Yet look to the life that they route. Look to the pollutants and waste that they give out. The equivalents of millions of cars for every journey they take. The choking waters and warming skies at stake. There is yet no real alternative. Look, these emissions are just not going away. Or so they say.
So Paul, I hand over to you.
Katerina, thank you very much. Fantastic. I feel it's safe to say that CP is today a solution provider and will definitely be part of the solution providers for tomorrow. So congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you progressing in the future.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you.
So that brings to conclusion the 2 sessions that we have put together to tackle head on this question of sustainable shipping and moving towards net zero. And we've heard a lot and we've learned a lot about what shipping is doing, and you clearly unequivocally traveling in this direction towards net zero. And it seems the drivers, the driver for that seems to be, to me, as I listen and take in what you've been saying, is principally as across the range of all activities is climate change and addressing the issues around climate change and reducing CO2 emissions. But I get a very strong sense at the same time of a real responsibility that the shipping industry feels, and that's one gets from reading, from reading what's the news that's coming out, but also from the way that you speak about what you're doing. So I think that's really laudable. And it's not just about the carrot, the stick, it's about the carrot of wanting to achieve that, of being responsible and changing things and changing the way you're doing. And the way that you're approaching that being the combination of collaboration, of diversity, embracing diversity in terms of what what the potential solutions are of innovation, and then of now. The now of all of this is so important, and that clearly is something that you've all been emphasizing. So to take that to a question, if I may, and I'll put it to all of you, and be very interesting to hear what you might have to say in reply, is so that what are the key areas that still need to be addressed for you that will enable you to move, to steam forward on this journey further and faster. Clearly you're going somewhere, and you're going where we need you to go, but what will help you? What are the key factors that will help you to get there sooner and faster? Who would like to pick up on that? Do please turn your videos and your microphones back on again so we can see you all. And if Peter speaks, I'll try not to interject, or I'll try not to interject for any of you.
I could say something to start.
Please, Steve.
I think in particularly in shipping, the decarbonisation debate until recently has become a little bit stranded around the end goal, and not enough consideration has been given to the actual pathway and how to get there and what we can do now. So I was very much encouraged by, in fact, all the other participants' contributions, which was very much around acting now and developing that pathway to a zero emissions industry, and that there are multiple ways to get there, and clearly our view is that LNG with the provides the sort of infrastructure and asset base through which we can begin incremental decarbonisation of the shipping industry through BioLNG and synthetic LNG later. But we can begin that now. We don't need to wait. So I think that to me was the sort of broad encouraging message I heard from the panel.
I can add something if I may, Paul, and this is what I think is legislation and a clear pathway to legislation. We have different countries in Europe, and then we have the Brexit as well, and the UK and the US. They don't seem to move in sync, and it seems that there is there is progress, and we will get there. But until we get there, and there's a clear pathway for people to use different technologies and help people to be innovative and bring things forward, we will have to have a clear pathway into legislation and certification of products. Paul, you're on mute.
Still mute.
You're still mute. I really do hope the rest of the panelists agree with my point on legislation.
Sorry, I'm back
it's
again.
Very confusing. And...
Sorry, I'm back again. I'd lost the screen for a second. Yes, please, somebody else would like to comment. Peter, I'm not going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely agree when it comes to regulation and the regulatory clarity that I think all of us need, and I think that the industry really needs to take a few more steps forward and dare to invest. So that I think is important. I would also just like to mention that I think we're in a super interesting phase now, but because we talk about LNG, we talk about ammonia and hydrogen and all of these different options, and I think we should regard that as something that is very positive. I think we need to explore all those options and continue to do that, because it's just way too soon to rule out anything at all. And the further we can get with the more options we have, we might end up with a few that actually really can take us all the way. So I think that is very positive. I'm always glad, even though I tend to talk about methanol and hydrogen and some other options. It makes me equally happy to hear about progress in the other areas. So that's something I just want to add into the mix as well.
closing words on?
If I may
Can I
add, Michael, you're before me. Go, and then I'll say something afterwards. After you, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just also would like to revert on the question that Paul raised. What will help? And I think indeed collaboration helps, and to make long-term commitments in the various chains that exist. In order for me to realize BioLNG production plans, or for a plan to take FID, they need long-term commitment or offtake agreements from me. Equally, of course, I don't want to get stuck with the product, so I need somebody to sell it to. So in the end, it's the entire chain that needs to say yes to a variety of solutions. As also Peter said, of course, I'm slightly biased towards LNG, but let's keep our eyes open. But what we should do is make it a no regret option for the person in the last in the chain. So we should support them with incentive schemes, etc. So they dare to take the plunge on an innovative project in order to really kickstart this chain, to make it work, to grow the availability of the various fuels in the marketplace in order for it to become much more economically attractive.
Thank you, Katerina.
One more comment. I don't think there is a real competition about the different solutions. My view is that we need all of them, and we need all of them to work. There is incredible need in the world for energy, and we're not at the point to choose which is best or not yet. And we need things to work now until we find the perfect solution that might come in 20 or 30 years. So that's why I was really excited to see about the rest of the solutions that they were put forward, because we really do need all of them.
Wonderful.